Hi everybody, we are receiving today Mr. Luquman Shaheen, I'm sorry, and which is President and CEO of Panoro Minerals. Actually a very nice company because it doesn't happen very often, but the company is on top of its chart right now. So that should be very interesting for you investors and a nice stock to watch. Actually, the company has two main projects, a gold project and a copper project. And copper projects are very popular, not only gold right now. And they have nice companies also involved in their project, and very big neighbors also. Mr. Shaheen, good day.
Thank you.
And it's a pretty nice place where your mine is. I was talking to you about that
yes.
just before, and I love the scenery out there.
Well, you know, Peru is a beautiful country, has some beautiful areas, and it's a very important mining country. A very significant gold, silver, copper production and growing, and a lot of very important companies heavily invested in Peru. So it's we're very happy to be there.
As you said, yes, it is very much growing right now. I mean, all big players are there at the moment, and keep developing. So you have two principal projects. Your biggest project is a copper and gold project.
That's correct.
Which is the Cotabambas project.
That's correct.
And
yes.
Now you're in production, but you are you are in exploration, but you intend to go to production with this project.
Well, we are an exploration company. Our first focus with our projects is to advance the exploration, grow the resource, identify what the potential of the project will be geologically speaking, and then move into economic studies and get to a point where we then make a decision as to whether how we finance the projects forward into development, whether that involves a partnership of some sort with a larger producing company, or whether there are alternatives for us to try and finance and develop the projects on our own. That's a decision that we have to make at a later date. For the time being, at our Cotabambas project, we still have a very large exploration potential, and that's what we're focused on realizing, and then in the not too distant future, start some of the economic evaluations.
Can you explain us the story behind the Antilla project, and where is there an arbitration right now process with this project? What is this about?
Yes. Well, the Antilla project is a copper molybdenum project that we have again in the south central part of Peru, where all of our other projects are. In 2010, we signed a joint venture agreement with a private Peruvian company, whereby that company was to pay Panoro $8 million cash and invest $17 million into the project in order to complete, as a minimum, a bankable feasibility study. Well, we received the first $1 million payment, and they were not making the next $4 million payment, asking for certain changes or modifications to the joint venture agreement. And they found us at that point in July of 2010 very short on cash and in a vulnerable position, and we felt that they were trying to force us into a corner to make changes on the JV agreement. So we declined to make any changes. We gave them a 60-day remedy period, and then we terminated the joint venture contract. So they took us to arbitration to contest our termination of the joint venture agreement. So that is what's in arbitration right now, is whether the joint venture agreement is still in force or not. We expect a decision before the end of this month, and there's two potential outcomes. One is we win, in which case the agreement is terminated and we get the project back as it is, 100%.
Okay.
If we lose...
Without having to pay back the million?
Without having to pay back the million.
Okay.
If we lose, then the joint venture agreement is still in force and our partner owes us $7 million, and they have 30 months to complete the bankable feasibility study. So that's what the arbitration is looking at, whether or not the joint venture contract is still in force.
Okay, so no matter the end of the story, you are going to be in a good position anyway.
Both outcomes are positive for us, and one way or the other, we will remain involved with the Antilla project. Correct.
I see that V-PML is your largest shareholder.
Correct.
So is there a possibility there that you could just simply sell the resources once you have terminated all of the evaluation of the project?
Well, that is one potential strategic outcome for the execution of our exploration program, is that we sell the project at a point where we think we are getting a reasonable value for our shareholders. And Hudbay, being one of the strategic shareholders of Panoro, is one of the companies that will likely be interested. Not only are they a shareholder within Panoro and a significant shareholder, but within the last month, Hudbay announced the go-ahead of $1.5 billion investment into their Constancia project, which is about 150 kilometers south of the Cotabambas project. So yes, from a strategic outlook, that might be one of the eventualities. But we have a number of different groups with whom we have different levels of agreements, confidentiality agreements signed, numbers of groups that are very interested in acquiring copper gold projects in Peru.
And what about all of the facilities around? Do you have everything you need at this in a location like that to go to production, like electricity, roads, and all this? Mm-hmm.
The infrastructure in the, into the Cotabambas project site area is a reasonable infrastructure, adequate for the exploration stage that we're in. Eventually, when the project is developed and a mine is built there will be some infrastructure upgrades required. There is low voltage power into the region. There's a provincially maintained access road that you use to get into the project site. Water is available locally. But there will be some infrastructure upgrades required, but I'd like to point out that just 40 kilometers to the south of Cotabambas is Xstrata's Las Bambas project, where Xstrata is investing $5.2 billion into a new copper mine, which includes power, access road, other infrastructural improvements. And there are a number of other projects within the region as well that are at a slightly more advanced stage than we are at Cotabambas, all of which will result in significant synergies for the use of an upgrade of infrastructure.
Into those high mountains like those are, isn't it a bit of a problem transporting the ore from a mine like that to the location that it could be sold?
Well, Peru's a very rugged country.
Yeah.
As I mentioned a little earlier, it's a very important mining country. All of the mining projects, or most of all of the mining projects, are up in the high Andes, where yes, access roads and transport to the coast is a technical challenge. But it's a challenge that the mining sector and the domestic, the Peruvian engineering sector have shown very capable at resolving. Yes.
Yeah. You were supposed to have a 43101 report by the end of July, and yes, it didn't come out. So is there any difficulty with this?
Well, we just announced the results earlier this week.
Okay.
You are correct. We had originally planned on completing our exploration drilling by the end of June, and then completing the the resource estimate update by July. It took us a couple of months longer because we had to work on some of the refinements of the resource estimate, and I think the proof is in the pudding. You can see our target when we started to drill was a 200 million ton resource, growing the 90 million ton up to a 200 million ton resource, and the resource estimate that we announced earlier this week is a 404 million ton resource with a very large potential also identified. So where we were at the end of 2010 was looking to grow the 90 million ton resource up to 200. Now we've grown it to 400, and we're looking at the next quantum leap.
Is there still some potential again?
There is, and we announced that in our press release as well, that our consultants and our geologists have identified up to another 300, 400, 500 million tons in the east zone, which is our new discovery. The first drill hole that we drilled into that area, our discovery hole, drill hole 68, drilled almost 1.2 kilometers continuous of mineralization. So we have a huge new potential off to the east.
Are both projects very close to each other, or is really two different locations?
They're in the same geologic region in the south central part of Peru, but they're not close enough together that there would be operational synergies. Yeah. But they're all, both of these projects, in addition to our other 12 other early stage projects, are all located in the Andaihuaylas Yauri copper belt of south central Peru, where, as I mentioned, Las Bambas has their Xstrata has their Las Bambas project, Hudbay has their Constancia project. First Quantum has their Haquita project. Grupo Mexico has their Las Chancas project. So there are a number of very large copper projects all within that region.
Do you intend to run both projects at the same time, or the one will be your priority?
Well, we see both projects at a different level of development. Cotabambas, we have identified the very large exploration potential. So there is still a lot of exploration value to be untapped from the Cotabambas project. So that's the focus at Cotabambas, is drilling exploration. The Antilla project is a moderate-sized project, 150 million tons, and we haven't identified the big exploration upside at Antilla. So we look at Antilla as being a mid-sized copper operation, and it's ready where it is right now to move into economic studies. Cotabambas still needs more exploration in order to realize that large geologic potential.
So one is ready, but it's smaller. The other one is bigger, but still had a lot to analyze.
That's correct. Yes.
In there. Okay. And what about? Tell us about your cash flow situation there. How much money you got? Can you run? What's your burning rate?
Right.
Can you run for a long time?
We have approximately $15 million in cash. We completed a financing in March of this year, believe it or not, of $13.8 million bought deal financing. So we have $15 million in cash. We have $5 million in warrants that are priced at 60 cents, and you see we're trading, in upwards about 80 cents right now. Mm-hmm. But we have 60-cent warrants that expire at the end of this year. That's another $5 million that'll bring in. And then we have 85-cent warrants that expire in September next year. That's another approximately $10 million. So that's our working capital right now. Our exploration program, we have 4 drill rigs at site. We're roughly spending a little less than $1 million a month. So we do have a fair bit of working capital to keep our exploration programs going. They are funded. And at the right time, look at raising more capital.
So it seems like you have enough money to bring the project even bigger because before you run out of it.
That's correct.
And with the size of the project that you have there, I think it could be quite easy to sell out. So is there any other big project very close to where you are, like actually a project in operation?
Large copper projects, no. The closest one would be about 150, 180 kilometers southeast of where we are. That is Extrada's Tintaya copper mine. There are a number of other small and mid-sized gold operations within the region, but really the copper and the large copper potential projects in this region are new. It's a new wave, it's really a growing district, and it's an strategically important part of the country for Peru, because Peru has stated many times that it would like to challenge Chile as the world's largest copper producer. Right now Peru is number 2, and there's a lot of potential in the area that we're in, and it's important to the country as well.
Oh yeah, I mean we keep finding new companies in this area. So the more we see, the bigger seems to be the potential in this area. Anyway, and. Tell us about the political climate there now, because we know that a couple companies had some problem, like Newmont with their Newmont Mining with their Conga project. Is there any problem with the politics actually right now, because it's growing so fast? Maybe they have a feeling that okay, they were not ready for that big expansion, and maybe they want to have a little bit more on their side.
Mm-hmm. My viewpoint in this area is, I think, a little bit different than a lot of the viewpoints that you might hear from different analysts. I lived in Peru from 1996 until 2001. I've lived and worked in Peru since that period of time. And I see what's happening now in Peru as far as some social opposition to some projects like the Minas Conga you mentioned for Newmont. I see that as a part of a trend, not a trend, but just a 20-year cycle where the regulatory framework in Peru has been growing and evolving. The environmental community relations, sort of the whole regulatory framework that revolves around how private companies local communities and the government interact when it comes to the approval and development of projects. And through this evolutionary process over the last 20, almost 25 years, there have been at various times different problems that have arisen, and Minas Conga is one of them. So I don't see what happened at Minas Conga now as being something that's a new trend, a new problematic movement or anything like that in Peru. I see it as part of a 20, 25-year cycle where things have been, the mining sector in Peru has been growing and evolving together with the regulatory framework and occasionally resulting in problems. But politically speaking, the government of Ollanta Humala is now the 5th consecutive government that has been very pro-investment, very pro-mining, very pro-foreign investment. We had the 2 governments of Alberto Fujimori, then the government of Alejandro Toledo, and then of Alan Garcia, and now Ollanta Humala. We have seen now getting on to 25 years, a quarter century of very stable politics related to investment and investment in the mining sector in Peru. Notwithstanding that occasionally over this 20, 25 years, there have been occasional social problems related to specific projects. But I would point to Canada and say it's not very different than what we find in Canada. I live in Vancouver in the province of British Columbia. We have the issue of the pipeline approval projects through the province, where what is the province of British Columbia or the local communities around the pipeline route, what are they asking for? They're saying, listen, if we're taking a lot of the risk, we want our fair share of the benefits. Mm-hmm. And the fundamental issue in Peru around community relations is that same issue, is that those communities that will be affected the most are saying that we want our fair share.
And people in these countries are usually poor, we have to say, you know, they're not considered as rich people, and they're probably aware of all what's going on around and see, okay, there are businesses coming out, and they probably put a little bit of pressure on the government also to have not only jobs but money out of it too. And I think it's fair also because they're actually rich countries.
Absolutely. And actually what is good for business in Peru, what is good for the mining sector in Peru is an educated, well-trained, healthy population that will provide good technicians, good engineers, good geologists, and good workers for the sector.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. They are recognized as good workers out there. So we're looking, unfortunately, the interview is coming to an end. I like the charts on your company. I mean, as I said earlier, you're on top of the charts at 75 to 80 cents within the last few days. Nice uptrends, right on the top. I mean, confidence seems to be there. There's great volume, regular volume. You know, it's not a stock like sometimes becomes like forgiven. No one is interested anymore. There's always activity on the stock, and that's what we like about a stock. And it seems that there are interests. Do you have a few institutions involved with you in that?
Yeah, we have a number of institutional investors, including Dundee Resources, Mackenzie Financial, IG, and a number of others. We have a very large, relatively large institutional holding. I'd like to point out also that about 25 to 30% of our stock is held in Peru, and we're traded on the junior board of the Lima Exchange.
Oh, yeah?
And our company and the value of our projects is very, very well understood amongst the Peruvian investors. And we have a lot of volume that's driven out of Lima. And in our company, there are only 2 non-Peruvians that work in our company, myself and the CFO. Everybody else is Peruvian. 2 of our directors are Peruvian. One of our directors is the former Minister of Energy and Mines, Jaime Quijandría. So we are a company, a Canadian company listed on the TSXV, but very much dedicated to Peru and a lot of managerial board experience in Peru.
Okay, so that's nice to see that not everything is outside there, you know, and the people over there are involved in this project, so that makes people believe in that project a little bit more, I guess, and it will certainly help for the political side of it too, because if you get the people there involved, I think you have always greater chances of success.
Oh yeah, that's very important, and we recognize that, and we've built our team and our board around that recognition.
So thank you very much, Mr. Shaheen. It was very, very nice to talking to you and learning about your project, and we'll be following it very closely.
Well, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.